Why did an ancient Egyptian king carve a recipe for cooking gods onto his grave? You probably picture Egyptian tombs as peaceful places, gold masks, silent guardians, maybe a curse or two to keep robbers away. We usually think of the pharaohs as servants of the gods, right? They build temples, they offer incense, they pray for a good afterlife. But inside the crumbling pyramid of King Unas, archaeologists found something that completely shattered that image. It wasn't a prayer, it wasn't a plea for mercy. It was a hymn about hunting down the creators of the universe, chopping them up, and boiling them in a pot for dinner. So, let's rewind to 1881. French archaeologist Gaston Maspero is digging at Saqqara. He's looking at this pyramid that honestly just looks like a pile of dirt. It's the Pyramid of Unas. It's small, it's ruined, and nobody really cares about it because the 5th dynasty was supposed to be in decline. But Maspero decides to break in anyway. When he gets into the burial chamber, he freezes. Up until this moment, every pyramid found was blank inside. No writing on the walls, just stone. But Unas's tomb, every single inch of the walls was covered in hieroglyphs. These were the pyramid texts, the oldest religious writings in the world. Maspero is ecstatic. He thinks he's found a treasure trove of peaceful spells and wisdom. Then he starts translating, and the blood drains from his face. The text doesn't start with, "O great Osiris, please let me in." It starts with the sky raining oil and the stars darkening. It describes the universe trembling in fear. Why? Because Unas has risen. And Unas isn't asking for permission to enter heaven. He's kicking the door down. The text says, "Unas is he who eats men and lives on gods." It describes a god named Shesmu, who is basically a divine butcher, slaughtering the other gods. He cuts their throats and takes out their intestines. Then he cooks them in great evening cauldrons for the king to eat. It gets incredibly specific, which is the creepy part. It says, Unas eats the big gods for his morning meal, the medium gods for lunch, and the little gods for dinner. He even eats their hearts and their lungs. It's brutal. It's graphic. And for decades, historians looked at this and thought, okay, were these guys actual cannibals? Was this some leftover ritual from prehistoric times? But here's the twist that changes everything. This wasn't the rambling of a madman. It was a calculated political move that terrified the entire Egyptian pantheon. And when you realize why he wrote it, it makes the Great Pyramid look like a child's toy. See, we've been looking at it all wrong. We view eating as destruction. You eat a burger, the burger is gone. But to the ancient Egyptians, eating was about absorption. This is the revelation. The Cannibal Hymn wasn't about nutrition. It was about power. In Egyptian magic, or Heka, words were reality. By writing this down, Unas wasn't just telling a scary story. He was hacking the system of the afterlife. The text explains that the gods represent different powers. One god is wisdom, one is strength, one is magic itself. By eating them, Unas isn't destroying them. He's absorbing their essence. He is taking their power for himself. The text literally says, he consumes their Heka and swallows their spirits. He's saying, I don't need to be judged by Osiris. I don't need to have my heart weighed against a feather. I am becoming the universe itself. It's the ultimate power move. He is fusing himself with the divine to become a power greater than the creators. He's declaring himself the top of the food chain, literally and metaphorically. It's actually kind of brilliant. in a terrifying way. Unas realized that if he wanted to be eternal, he couldn't just be a servant in the afterlife. He had to become the master. He had to become the bull of the sky. But here is the final layer of the story. This text was so intense, so aggressive, that later Egyptians actually censored it. If you look at the Book of the Dead, which came way later, it's all about being humble. I have not sinned. I have not stolen. It's a moral checklist. They looked back at Unas and thought, whoa, that is way too much. The Cannibal Hymn disappears from the record. Later pharaohs basically decided that eating your ancestors was bad PR. They watered it down to simple spells for protection. So, Unas was basically the heavy metal pharaoh of ancient history. While everyone else was hoping to be let into paradise, he was planning a hostile takeover. He carved his refusal to die quietly into the very stone that protected his body. It really makes you think about how we view ambition. Unas didn't want to just sit at the table with the gods, he wanted to be the table. So, I've got to ask you this. If you could absorb the power or talent of any figure from history just by, metaphorically eating their essence, who would you choose? And what power would you take? Drop a name in the comments. I want to see what kind of pantheon we're building down there.